I should have never stayed in that motel. I only wanted a cheap room for one night, but at exactly 3:13 a.m., something started knocking from the room next door, room 313. The manager swore the door's been locked for 10 years that I remember the night vividly. A fog-soaked evening somewhere outside Prague, when the GPS led me off the main highway and down a cracked cobblestone road. I was exhausted from driving 12 hours straight, my eyes burning from the glare of oncoming headlights. When I finally spotted a flickering neon sign that read Hotel Miran Vacancies, it felt like a blessing. The place looked old but harmless. A 3-story brick building with ivy crawling up its sides and an empty parking lot shimmering under a dim yellow light. I just needed a bed, a shower, and a few hours of sleep before continuing my trip. Nothing more. The front desk sat behind a dusty counter, and the air smelled faintly of bleach and mold. An elderly man looked up from a newspaper when I rang the bell. His accent was thick, his English broken but understandable. "Only few rooms open tonight," he said, sliding a logbook toward me. I signed my name, handed over my passport, and asked for something quiet. He paused for a second, eyes flicking toward the hallway behind him. "Quiet?" he repeated slowly. "Then not upstairs. Stay on the first floor. Room 312. "Sounds fine," I said, barely glancing up. I didn't notice the way he avoided looking at the key rack, where a thick layer of dust coated one tag, 313. The hallway leading to my room was narrow and carpeted with a faded red runner. The walls were lined with old oil paintings of nameless landscapes, their glass faces cracked and clouded. As I walked, I counted the numbers on the doors: 308, 309, 310, 311. Then a locked wooden door with a tarnished brass plate, 313. The number had been half scratched off, as if someone had tried to erase it. My room 312 was just next to it. The inside smelled like stale air and damp wallpaper. The radiator ticked softly under the window. I tossed my bag onto the bed, plugged in my phone, and sat for a moment, listening to the silence. But it wasn't completely silent. Through the wall behind my bed, the one I shared with room 313, I could hear a faint sound, a rhythmic tap, 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 like knuckles brushing lightly against wood. First, I ignored it. Old buildings make sounds, I told myself. Pipes, wind, settling floors. But then it came again, 3 slow knocks, deliberate and patient. I froze. It sounded too human, too intentional. I waited a few seconds, then knocked back lightly, half joking to myself. The reply came instantly. 3 knocks again, louder this time. I got up, walked to the wall, and pressed my ear against it. Silence. My pulse slowed, my breath steadying, until I heard a faint whisper, right on the other side of the plaster. A woman's voice, low and trembling. "Don't open the door." I jerked back from the wall so fast that I nearly tripped over my bag. For a moment, I just stood there, heart pounding, staring at the faded wallpaper as if it might move. I tried to convince myself I'd imagined it. Exhaustion, maybe even an auditory hallucination after the long drive. But my body didn't believe it. My skin prickled with goosebumps, my chest tight, breath shallow. Whoever that voice belonged to, it had been real. Too close, too clear. After a few tense minutes, the silence returned. I sat on the edge of the bed, listening, waiting for another sound. When none came, I tried to shake it off. I turned on the small TV for background noise, unpacked my toothbrush, even checked my messages to distract myself. But the feeling wouldn't leave. It was like being watched. Not from the window, not from the door, but from the wall itself, like the room next to mine had eyes. I finally decided to ask the manager. Maybe someone was staying in 313 after all. Maybe the knocking had a normal explanation. So I stepped out into the hallway, the dim lights flickering as I walked. When I reached the front desk, the old man was still there, half asleep behind the counter. I hesitated, then cleared my throat. "Hey, sorry to bother you," I said, keeping my voice casual. "Is someone staying in room 313? He froze, The question hung in the air like smoke. Slowly, he set his pen down and looked up at me. "Why, you ask?" "I heard someone in there, knocking. Maybe a woman." His expression changed. The color drained from his face, eyes wide but strangely distant, as if he was staring through me. After a long pause, he said quietly, "There is no one in 313. "Are you sure?" "I heard." He cut me off with a shake of his head. "That room is locked. 10 years now. You stay away, yes?" His voice trembled slightly, like a warning disguised as advice. I tried to laugh it off. "Maybe someone broke in?" He sighed, pulled open a drawer beneath the counter, and took out an old key, heavy, dark, and rusted with age. A tarnished tag read 313. "Key never used," he said. "We keep it for respect." He looked around the empty lobby, then leaned closer to whisper, "The woman who last slept there, she never checked out." The air seemed to grow colder between us. I swallowed hard. "What happened?" He hesitated, then turned the key over in his hand. "She was alone, like you. One night, she called from the room, screaming someone knocking from wall. When police come, door locked from inside. She was gone. Only found her clothes and handprints on wall." My stomach twisted. I wanted to ask more, but his expression told me enough. He didn't want to remember. "Sleep," he said, forcing a weak smile. "Forget you heard anything. Tomorrow you go." I nodded, pretending to agree, but as I walked back down the hallway, my eyes kept flicking toward that locked door. And when I passed room 313, I swear, the doorknob moved. I froze in the hallway, staring at the doorknob of room 313. It gave a slight rattle, not a full twist, just a trembling shake, as if something inside was trying to decide whether to come out. My first thought was that it could be the wind, but there were no windows open, and the hallway was sealed tight. I waited for another sound, but none came. Eventually, I forced myself to move. My room was just a few steps away, and the last thing I wanted was to stand there and prove I was a coward. I closed the door behind me, locked it twice, and leaned against it, trying to calm down. I told myself it was fatigue, nothing more. But when I turned off the light, the silence felt different now. Thicker, heavier, like the air itself was listening. I lay on the bed, eyes wide, watching the faint glow of the street lamp bleed through the curtains. My phone screen showed 3:12 a.m. Then it started again. 3 knocks. Slow, deliberate, right behind the wall where the bed rested. Knock, knock, knock. I sat up instantly, every muscle in my body tensed. The sound wasn't random. It came in a rhythm, almost patient. I stared at the wall, unable to move, and then came a faint, dragging sound, like fingernails sliding across the wallpaper. I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and pressed it against the wall. The beam revealed nothing, just the same faded floral pattern and water stains. But as I moved closer, my breath fogged in front of me. The air was suddenly freezing. I backed away slowly, heart hammering. Then the whisper returned. The same voice as before. A woman's, fragile and desperate. "Please, don't open the door." The sound was clearer this time, right behind me, as if she were in the room. I spun around, scanning the darkness, my flashlight shaking in my hand. No one was there, but something had changed. The door to my room, the one I'd locked twice, was now slightly ajar. Couldn't breathe. My first instinct was to run, but my legs refused to move. I kept the light fixed on the door, half expecting it to swing open. And that's when I saw it. A shape reflected in the mirror across the room. A shadow standing perfectly still just beyond the doorway. I turned the flashlight toward it, but the beam hit only empty air. The doorway was clear, the hall outside silent. I stepped closer, trembling, my mind screaming to stop. I reached out and pushed the door shut, the latch clicking back into place. Silence again. I fell back against the wall, trying to steady my breathing. My phone buzzed in my hand, a notification. I looked down. The screen displayed a message, but there was no signal, no sender, no name. Just 3 words glowing on the screen. She's in there. I don't know why I didn't just leave. Every instinct told me to grab my bag, get in the car, and drive until the sunrise. But fear has a strange way of paralyzing you. Like your body refuses to move until it understands what's haunting it. I stared at the message on my phone, that short, chilling sentence. She's in there. It didn't come from any number I recognized. There wasn't even a signal bar on the screen. Just those 3 words that shouldn't have existed. I sat frozen for what felt like an hour. Then something changed again. A soft creaking noise, followed by a dull thud, echoing through the hallway. It came from room 313. This time it wasn't just knocking, it was footsteps. Slow, dragging, unsteady, pacing just behind that locked door. Against all logic, I picked up my phone, turned on the camera light, and stepped into the hallway. The air was colder than before, sharp enough to sting my lungs. Every flickering light bulb hummed faintly, as if warning me not to go any further. But curiosity, or maybe defiance, pushed me on. When I reached the door to room 313, I noticed something I hadn't seen before. The brass number plate wasn't just scratched. It looked burned. The wood around it was blackened, melted in uneven streaks, like someone had pressed something red-hot against it years ago. I swallowed hard and knocked once. The sound echoed down the empty corridor. No answer. Then, from inside, came a whisper. "Please help me." It was the same voice. Soft, trembling, human. My heartbeat pounded so hard I could feel it in my throat. I gripped the door handle, expecting it to be locked, but to my shock, it turned easily beneath my hand. The door creaked open, releasing a gust of cold, stale air that smelled of dust, rust, and something faintly metallic. Blood, maybe. The room inside was frozen in time. A single bed sat against the wall, the mattress covered in a thin sheet of dust. The curtains were drawn tight, blocking out any light from outside. A broken lamp lay on the floor, and on the wall above the bed were hundreds of handprints. Pale, faded, some smeared like they had been dragged downward. I stepped inside, every sense screaming that I shouldn't be there. The door swung shut behind me with a quiet click. "Hello," I whispered. "Are you hurt? Who's there?" Silence, then faint breathing. I turned toward the corner near the wardrobe, where the shadows seemed thicker than the rest of the room. My flashlight trembled across the wall until it caught movement. The outline of a woman crouched low, her hair long and tangled, her skin gray as ash. She looked up slowly, her eyes 2 hollow pits of darkness. Before I could move, she whispered again. "He won't let me leave." Then she pointed, not at me, but at the wall I'd entered through. And from the other side of it came the sound of knocking. 3 times. The knocks came again. Slow, heavy, and deliberate, shaking the wall behind me. The woman's eyes darted toward it, her body trembling. I wanted to move, to run, to do anything, but my feet felt anchored to the dusty floor. She whispered again, voice cracking with something between fear and guilt. "He's still here." "Who?" I managed to ask, though my throat felt too tight to breathe. Her head tilted slowly toward the ceiling. "The man who built this place." For a moment, I didn't understand. But then the wall behind her began to groan. A deep, grinding sound like wood bending under pressure. The wallpaper bubbled, and the faint outline of another handprint appeared, fresh, pressing out from inside the wall. I stumbled backward, the flashlight shaking. "What are you talking about?" She looked at me with those hollow eyes. "He owned this motel. He killed me here, and when they found out, he sealed the room with me inside." Her words came out in gasps, her form flickering between solid and transparent, like a glitch in reality. "They thought closing it would bury the evil, but it only trapped us together." I felt my stomach twist. I turned the light toward the wall, the one that connected to my room. The plaster was cracked now, thin lines splitting outward like veins. Behind it, something moved. A low voice, deep and gravelly, vibrated through the wall. You opened the door. My entire body went cold. The woman shook her head desperately. He's awake now. You shouldn't have come here. The knocking became pounding, furious, relentless, echoing from every side of the room. The lamp on the floor shattered. The walls pulsed like something alive beneath them. I backed up, reaching for the doorknob, but it wouldn't turn. Felt welded shut. Then the whisper came again, only this time it wasn't hers. It was his. Don't leave me alone. A thick, dark fluid began seeping from the cracks in the wall. Tar-like, sticky, and smelling of rot. The temperature dropped so fast I could see my breath in the air. The woman screamed, clutching her chest as her body flickered violently. He's trying to pull you in, she cried. He wants you to replace me. The pounding stopped all at once, replaced by silence so heavy it made my ears ring. I looked back toward the bed, and that's when I saw the hand emerging from the wall. Gray, wet, too long to be human. The fingers curled against the wallpaper, digging into it like claws. I kicked the door with all my strength. It finally gave way, splintering open as I stumbled into the hallway. Behind me, the door to room 313 slammed shut on its own. The sound echoed through the corridor like a gunshot. I ran toward the lobby, gasping for air, but the hallway seemed longer than before, stretching endlessly, lights flickering above. I could still hear it behind me. 3 knocks. Then his voice, closer now, almost gentle. Room 312 is yours now. I sprinted down the hallway, my footsteps echoing against the worn carpet, heart slamming so hard it drowned out every other sound. The air felt heavier with each step, like the entire building was breathing against me. The lobby lights flickered violently, one moment blazing white, the next plunging me into darkness. When I reached the front desk, the old manager was gone. The newspaper he'd been reading earlier still lay on the counter, but it was yellowed and brittle, like it had been sitting there for decades. Hello, I shouted. Someone's in that room. Room 313. My voice bounced back at me, hollow and distorted. I looked toward the front door, the only exit, and my stomach dropped. The glass was covered in frost from the inside, thick and white, like the cold had sealed it shut. I rushed over, grabbed the handle, and yanked hard, but it wouldn't move. That's when I saw it, my reflection in the glass, and another figure standing behind me. I spun around. Nothing. The lobby was empty. The clock on the wall had stopped at 3:13 a.m. My breath came out in short bursts of fog. I took a step backward, every instinct screaming to hide, when a voice whispered right next to my ear. The same woman from room 313. You can't leave until he chooses. I turned slowly. She was standing behind the counter now, half shadow, half light. Her face was calm, almost peaceful, but her eyes, they were pools of black sorrow. He always needs someone, she said softly. One soul in, one soul out. What are you talking about? I asked, my voice cracking. She lifted her trembling hand and pointed toward the hallway. He chose you. The corridor behind her seemed to darken, the walls bending inward like something alive was breathing through them. The door to room 313 creaked open again, though I was sure I'd left it locked behind me. A soft yellow light glowed from inside, warm and inviting, like a trap that knew I couldn't resist looking. Then came the knock. Once, twice, 3 times. Only this time it wasn't coming from the wall. It was coming from inside my room, room 312. I turned my head slowly toward my door, disbelief turning into pure horror. The sound repeated, slow, patient, like it was waiting for permission to enter. I took a step back, shaking my head. No, I whispered. No, you can't. But then, the doorknob turned on its own. The door swung open. The light inside my room flickered, revealing a shape standing in the shadows. Tall, pale, and smiling. His eyes were bottomless voids, his suit old and rotted, his fingers long and blackened like burned wood. Welcome home, he rasped. The last thing I remember was the sound of the door slamming shut, and silence. When police finally arrived the next morning, the front desk was empty, room 312 vacant, and room 313 sealed, just like it had been for 10 years. But guests say that sometimes, late at night, they still hear knocking from the wall. 3 knocks. Always 3.